Hello folks, welcome to OTD. My name is Adam Orduna. This is my mom Gina, and today we are going to be talking about the 2015 Heisman Trophy candidates. And so far, they have invited 3 players in college football, and they are coming from Alabama, Stanford, and also Clemson. 2 of the teams are playing in the college football semifinal, which takes place December 31st. And the other one is not, but he is still in the Heisman race. And we are going to be talking about Derrick Henry, who is the running back, who is a junior from Alabama. We're also going to be talking about Christian McCaffrey, who is a running back, who is a sophomore from Stanford. And we're also going to be talking about Deshaun Watson, who is also a sophomore, who is a quarterback for Clemson. And it should be an interesting race this year.
Well, interesting is one word. Jacked is another. So, let me just go ahead and start with the hater rate. I don't understand how you have so many Division I teams, top 10, top 25 teams, and this committee has come down to 3 guys, 3 kids. And let's talk about, kind of my rant today is, let's talk about what the criteria are for the Heisman. It used to be an upperclassman award. It used to be for upperclassmen. It used to be for the player that meant the absolute most to their team, like an MVP award.
Sure.
Character used to count. And it really should have been more than 3 kids. And I'm calling them kids, they're young men. But when you look at the body of work of how many other quarterbacks, running backs, we've had years where there were 5 young men invited up to New York. This year you're going to narrow it down to 3? Really?
Yeah,
and they're all young.
Yeah, this isn't the first year that they've done it. It's been 3, the last couple years, within the last few years. But, traditionally you've seen it as many as 4 and 5 as athletes invited to New York to celebrate the ceremony.
Well, I look at some young men like Trevon Boykin from TCU. Anybody who thinks Trevon Boykin isn't the truth didn't watch him play. I look at Baker Mayfield from OU. You're telling me that Baker Mayfield is not one of the most valuable players on that team, or that OU would be winning right now without him? I just think that what you're doing is limiting yourself when you put 3 young men up there. And there's a breadth of people all over the country that could make the same argument. And dare I say the name? Leonard Fournette.
Correct. Yeah, no, Leonard Fournette was easily most people's #1 pick to win the Heisman this year, especially after the season he had last year. Coming into the SEC and dominating like he did, and just completely running over people left and right, game after game, week after week. And I think people kind of got off the Fournette train. Once they were losing, they lost to Ole Miss, and then they lost to Alabama, and teams were starting to kind of figure out how to shut him down. So I think the voters were starting to kind of, go a different direction, and I think they narrowed it down to 3 people to kind of just say, hey, I think these 3 guys are playing the best football right now in the country. And in my own personal opinion, I don't think that those are the only 3 people that are capable of winning the Heisman. I agree with you. I think a Trevon Boykin early on also was a lot of people's #1 choice to win the Heisman. But you said exactly right. Baker Mayfield is, to me, playing the best college football right now.
Absolutely. You've got your team in the Final 4. You're the quarterback, and you should have at least gotten the nod. I'm not saying, when people get down to vote, the committee members start voting, you're going to vote who you really feel like deserves it. But when you're talking about a nomination, it's like being nominated for an Oscar.
Right.
That's something no one can ever take away from you. It's an acknowledgement of what you've done, and then if you don't win, you don't win. But you get to come to New York. Your mom gets to see. They get to play the thing, make everybody cry. The movie about it.
Exactly.
These are unpaid college athletes. There are perks, but this is one of them. And to limit it to 3 young men out of all the teams that you've got in Division I FBS ball, it's ridiculous. And I think it's an insult to a lot of those young men who really deserve that nod.
Yes, and I think, when you look at the body of work that, Baker Mayfield has put together, and even Leonard Fournette, I think he's still worth the invite. Like you were saying, I think there's a lot of reasons to still accept these guys coming into the ceremony, the Heisman ceremony, and they deserve, even if they don't win, they still deserve the opportunity to go and represent themselves, their family, and their schools. And I think that some of those guys got snubbed.
Well, let me ask you this: do you feel like the Heisman's kind of tarnished now?
Yeah, I don't, Yeah, I would say tarnished may be a word that you could definitely use.
I mean, not if I had gotten nominated or something. I mean, it wouldn't be tarnished if you were up there. But I'm just in general, is the shine a little off the rose with the Heisman?
Well, I think that the past, winners, the previous winners, within the last 5 or 6 years, you could definitely say maybe aren't fully representative of what the Heisman is supposed to
Johnny
truly be.
Football.
Johnny Football is a prime example. Even Jameis Winston, for that matter,
Right.
even though he really probably was the best player in college football that year, didn't really exemplify absolutely everything off the field that you're probably looking
Correct.
for as far as what a Heisman contender or Heisman trophy is supposed to be doing. And
Correct.
so I think, tarnished may be a word that you could definitely throw around, but I definitely think the value of the Heisman is definitely being placed in a different category than what it used to be. And I think, back in the 90s and in the 80s, where guys like Charles Woodson, who was an all-purpose guy that made it happen. Desmond Howard, these are Michigan guys, and even, that were all-purpose guys
was the truth.
they were,
was the
these were guys,
absolute
exactly.
truth.
These were people that were explosive on all facets of the game, and
we're team leaders and difference
team leaders.
makers.
Yes, exactly.
And I think the 3 young men who are nominated for the Heisman are team leaders, and they're absolute difference makers. Clemson is not going to be number 1 in the country right now without that amazing quarterback.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson has really been the key factor for why Clemson is the number 1 team in the
And
nation.
I'm excited to see Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield. I would have also liked to see them sit next to each other in a nice suit in New York.
Right, because they both deserve it. And Baker Mayfield has literally resurrected OU.
Yes.
And since that Texas loss, he's playing
Put
the
him on
best
his
football.
back.
Yeah,
Yep.
and he's put the team
Yep.
on his back, and he's a leader, and he's the guy, getting the guys ready to go for a game day. And he definitely got snubbed in this year's Heisman voting.
Well, let me take my pot shot here on why I think the Heisman, one of the things that's tarnished the Heisman, it's not just who's won it recently, it's all this preseason crowning of the winners. Leonard Fournette, I think all of us were 3 or 4 games into the season going, well, nobody else is going to catch him. But maybe what we shouldn't do is be so quick to tell everybody who we know is going to be the winner, because you don't know.
Right.
You have to play a full season. And football's one of these games where somebody gets hurt any given second.
Yes, absolutely.
And it can
ACL,
be over.
shoulder, suspensions, or anything can happen for any player at any point in time, and I think that's, exactly.
And I think it's always fun for a team if someone's got a little Heisman buzz around them. It kind of helps get a little excitement into your team and your season. But I think when you build people up the way like a Leonard Fournette has been built up, or a Trevon Boykin for that matter,
Sure.
and then you just diss them at the end. I mean, to me, that is a complete dismissal of the talent that we were all, slapping each other on the head with at the
Right.
beginning of the season.
Well, and I think to your point, if because there's so many good athletes out there, there's a lot of good programs. I think Ohio State had a multitude of athletes that could have very easily been in the Heisman race this year had the season turned out the way that they had wanted it to. I think they had 3 options at quarterback that could have been Heisman, and including running back and Ezekiel Elliott that had full potential to win the Heisman as well.
Yeah, and Ohio State is a whole topic into itself, because that is, to me, one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah.
And there's a myriad of things that have gone wrong this year for them that are easy, simple things to fix. That being said, okay, 2 questions for you: who should win, and who is going to win?
Yeah, I personally think I would love to see Deshaun Watson take the crown this year. Like you mentioned, I think without him, it is not the same Clemson team. That's the number 1 team in the nation. They're undefeated, and you put in another quarterback in that system, or for that team, they'd probably have 2 or 3 losses this year. And so I would love to see Deshaun Watson win it, but I think Derrick Henry for Alabama is going to win it this year. Although I think a lot of people may vote otherwise. What about you?
Well, I think Derrick Henry should win. I think if there's a knock against him, it's that he's playing for a really strong Alabama team, and
Sure.
you have to wonder, is he really the difference maker?
Right.
He is a difference maker, but Alabama's
Absolutely.
such a whole team. I'm a little bit nervous, and by the way, I would love to see a running back win the Heisman.
Absolutely.
I'm a little bit nervous about what's coming out of Stanford, and I think there's some reasons that people might want to see a white running back win the Heisman.
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation right now that maybe it's time for a Caucasian or a white player to win it coming out of the backfield, and Christian McCaffrey has all the statistics that you need. He's got the last name. He plays the right position, coming from the conference that he's coming from, and also playing the right position. And so I think a lot of people are, maybe pulling for him to win the Heisman this year. And so, I think he may be the guy that ultimately wins it come the Heisman ceremony.
I have to just give you the side eye on that one. We'll just see. Let's go, Derrick Henry. Roll Tide.
Yeah, Roll Tide. Well, there you have it, folks. That's it for OTD. Have a nice day. All right. Not bad. Okay.
I can't lock in these kids' names, so I'm just...
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah.
Oh, I got to look.
Yeah.